What's up, guys? It's your boy Floyd, a.k.a. your Negus, and owner of Team Delaney's Saggy Tits of the best fantasy football league in the world, and of course, it's Nantuckett's Revenge. Call me Kamish, and as per usual, I am joined by my lovely, wonderful co-host, Michael Wiseman, owner of Team Thousand Oaks Gang. How you doing, Weiss?
What's up, everybody? We're back for Week 10. Only 4 weeks left, getting real tight in the race for the playoffs, so should get interesting here towards the end. A lot of teams fighting for the top 6, so we'll see. This week could have big implications, which we'll definitely get into it a little bit later.
Yes, sir. You got our standings pulled up?
Yep, I do.
All right, take us through.
All right, at the top we got alone at 7-2, the highest scoring team in the league, Delaney's Saggy Tits. Delaney's tits are sagging over the top of the table. We got Team Golden Taint in second, tied with Toledo Cheat Clappers, both at 6-3. Ricky and Billy right there tied for second, 1 game behind you. And then we've got 2 teams tied for fourth, myself, Thousand Oaks Gang, and Miller Time Andy. We're both at 5-4, holding on to the 4 and 5 spot respectively, based on the obviously point differential tiebreaker. And then you have, is it 5 4 and 5 teams in xnxx.com/Alexis Texas. Rob, Birdie Putt, Ryan Brill, Rusty Kuntz, Trevor, Team Butts, Kyle Butts, and bye week Devin. Just because they're 4-3 with a losing record doesn't mean they're out of it. They're obviously tied for the 6th spot on record right now, so all those teams very much still alive in the playoff hunt. And then the bottom 2 teams, which look like outside shots for the playoffs, Evansdale Carpet Munchers, and then at the bottom and last at 2-7 is Juices Loose Mikey.
Yeah, with the 2 going back to the losses, if Nick and Mikey's team weren't so far behind the rest of the teams, I'm not talking about in record, I'm talking about we're tiering each team, then they wouldn't be out of it at 2 wins when our 6th playoff spot is only 2 games out. But I think because Nick and Mikey's team are just a little bit behind, whether it was due to injuries or the team fell apart or whatever, I don't see him as a threat to make the playoffs. But we have 5 4 and 5 teams tied for the last spot. Almost half the league is tied for the last playoff spot, which is pretty cool. I'm pulling away. I want to keep separating. The top 2 scoring teams in the league are both the top 2 teams. That's me and Ricky. I happen to have the least points scored against me, and he happens to have the most points scored against him, maybe the second most.
Yeah, and I'm just going to pull up that table that Andy made right here.
Cool, send it up.
Yeah, so it actually shows Ricky at the top with expected wins. So he's just had more points scored against him. So Ricky is the second highest scoring team, but has the most total points scored against him. So he still has a negative points differential despite being the second highest scoring team. So has not ran very lucky, but still has gotten himself to 6-3. So that's why he appears at the top of the table as far as the way the metrics work for this table. Then you're still in second, so you guys are obviously the top 2 teams as far as scoring points. And then that's where it starts to get a little different. Where it stands out, you notice that Mikey's team has been very unlucky. You can see by the luck that he had by far has had the worst luck, which has definitely contributed to him being 2-7. So unfortunately for him, and as far as the luckiest teams go, it's very close between your team, Jad, and Billy, the Toledo Cheat Clappers, just over 1. And it sees Billy at 6-3 when his projected wins is only 5. So, you can only win against who you play. So he's ran very well so far this season. So that's why he is at 6-3. But according to the metrics and measuring the median score each week, his team has overachieved, so to speak. Are you looking at it? Do you have any comments?
No. Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. Let's see some of these players on these teams, and we'll take a look at some trades. Do you have some trades pulled up for us?
Yep.
we've missed a bunch of trades, obviously, probably like, 3 weeks worth? How far does it go back?
It goes back to October 25th.
October 25th, 2 weeks ago. All right, we'll start it off there. Wiseman, what do you got for us?
All right, the first one that appears, Ricky, the Golden Tate, trades OBJ and James Robinson for Robbie Anderson, Rob Gronkowski, and Leonard Fournette to Rob. This trade obviously happened after Rob sent it and then left it during game day, and then OBJ tore his ACL, and then Ricky accepted it. Rob still got the best player in the trade, I think. James Robinson's been great this year. Despite picking up somebody who was out for the season, it definitely helped his team out a lot. Not to say that the guys he traded away are bad. It's just he ended up with the best player, I think. Where it definitely helped Ricky strengthen his team a bit, I would say that Rob still didn't get totally shafted in this deal.
Yeah, and that's just a warning to people who do that stuff. Like, you got to be ready for that type of thing to happen. Like, don't expect me to cancel a trade if that happens to you, because that's not how that works. It's a game of information, and if you don't have that news, especially on game day, then that's your fault for not getting there fast enough, and don't leave shit open during game day. So, but yeah, I do agree. I think James Robinson's the best piece in that trade. We'll see if he can continue that. I didn't watch the highlights of that game, which I need to. Who is their rookie quarterback that they have? And is he officially the starter?
I don't know.
Well, Jacksonville, I know, did well fantasy-wise. It was DJ Chark did. So maybe they can move the ball downfield better now than they were before. I'm unsure, so we'll see how well that trade works out. I don't think it was terrible on either side, even though Rob didn't mean to do the trade, so he got lucky and got away with one. So. But
Lutton.
Ricky made a save, though. Like, he could have lost. He went from literally having zero equity to getting pieces just like that. So.
His name is Jake Lutton, and he's going to start, for the Jags. Next trade.
Yep.
Next trade is the smallest one we're going to cover today on this video, I think. On October 29th, Team Butts traded Russell Gage and Latavius Murray to Trevor Rusty Kuntz, who traded Denzel Mims and Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, I think Jalen Reagor is the best player in that trade, probably. But Trevor, Ricky, Brill, all those guys always make these small marginal trades here and there. They randomly happen throughout the weeks. And yeah, I don't know. I don't understand what the point of this one was. I think Jalen Reagor probably is the big ticket guy there, and somebody that you play on a flex whenever you don't have anybody else to play that week.
Yeah, it's weird. If this was a smaller league, most of those guys would probably be on the waiver wire. So it's just weird that they're being traded.
Yeah, exactly. They're bench guys. It's just kind of weird.
All right, next. Actually, on the same day, it says that you traded. Nick traded Mark Andrews to you in exchange for DJ Chark, Michael Gallup, and Eric Ebron.
All right, so this one, it's definitely worked out for Nick. He needed players that week because he had literally a couple weeks before just traded for a bunch of people. All I remember is Julian Edelman. He traded for a bunch of people. They all got hurt essentially.
And he traded away Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, and then he also got guys on bye at the same time, so he literally had nobody. So I took a tight end from him in exchange for Eric Ebron, who I had even said before definitely had his best games ahead of him still, and now he's proven that over the last 2 weeks, and outperformed Mark Andrews. So he's essentially got Michael Gallup, who he needed to plug in that week, and DJ Chark for free if you think Ebron's going to outscore Andrews the rest of the year. Yeah, Chark obviously just had a really awesome game. He was on bye the first week, but the first week back, Nick gets to use him. He goes for a big game with a new quarterback, so we'll see what this new guy can do. I need to watch the highlights. I really should. Yeah, and I did it because I wanted the 2 touchdown upside. I just felt like that would happen more often than Chark having 25 a game. But so far I'm 0 for 1, but the Jags weeks 15 and 16 matchups are like Baltimore and Tampa or something like that. Two tough defenses. So I'm okay with Mark Andrews on that week if I have to use him.
I thought it was just unusual that you traded for a tight end. Usually it's a position that you just stream or punt, but you traded away receivers for.
But that was the thing, so I end up using it. I'm not using him as a tight end. I'm using him as my flex guy. I just picked up Jimmy Graham this week, and that was why I was like, ha ha ha, you guys let me get the last week starter at tight end. The plan is to have Jimmy Graham as my tight end for the rest of the year, and then flex Mark Andrews, assuming that he has the 24-point upside. If you can get consistency with a 24-point upside on your very bottom flex, that's like you're blowing everybody out of the water. So that's what I was hoping for out of him. Obviously, his last 2 weeks he hasn't done that. But really, all that matters to me is weeks 15 and 16. So I think on any given week, especially in that tough division where a lot of teams are going to be competing for wins, he's going to have to show something, and the team's going to have to put it out. So weeks 15 and 16, we'll see what happens. That's all I'm thinking about.
Right then. Next trade, we've got between my team and Trevor. Trevor Rusty Kuntz traded me Kenny Galladay, Chase Claypool, and Giovanni Bernard. In exchange, I sent him J.K. Dobbins, Corey Davis, and Deontay Johnson. And for me, this was just mostly about trading to improve my wide receiver core. Trevor approached me for J.K. Dobbins, and after his big week last week, or not last week, but week before last, I figured the time was right to move him along if I got an offer that I liked. And it gave me the option to improve Kenny Galladay. Obviously, we exchanged Steelers. I received Chase Claypool and sent Deontay Johnson. I was okay with having either on my team, so this wasn't much of a deal breaker for me. Then obviously he received Corey Davis from me, and I received Giovanni Bernard, which was I don't like to trade away running back depth, which I know that obviously you can't play Giovanni Bernard and Joe Mixon together because there's not enough volume in that backfield to sustain two starting options. So I am trading away a little bit of depth, but since Joe Mixon has had injuries this season, I figured it would be a good idea to have his backup just in case. So I had that backfield locked up. So that's why I did the trade. Trevor, I think, was trying to cover that second running back spot, and he had J.K. Dobbins. And figured that Deontay Johnson and Corey Davis have been solid enough all year, which their numbers have been good. So obviously it hasn't worked out for him so far yet this season. With the 1 week he's had these players. And obviously Kenny Galladay was a doubt to play on Sunday, and obviously he didn't end up playing. So we'll see if he has to miss another week or not. But I think that's the reason why Trevor was willing to give me Kenny Galladay and not ask for more, because he knew he might miss the following game and then perhaps another one after that. But I was willing to wait it out.
Yeah, it seems like it was maybe a move where Trevor wanted to win now type of thing. Like, hey, I need to hurry up and stack my wins while I can. So he probably wanted to grab a few more week-to-week guys to add some power to his team. Obviously, I think Kenny Galladay is probably the best player in the trade, and I like to have the best player in my trade. So I like that you got that. Like you said, you got to lock up that backfield, which is going to be important, especially considering Cincinnati's been doing really well and putting up a lot of points per game, and that's what we look for is just opportunity. So, yeah, I think it works out potentially for both of you. We'll see if Trevor can make the playoffs. So, yeah, it's not terrible, but I like your side better, and I wish I had Kenny Galladay in that trade.
Fair enough. Next trade we've got the following day, November 4th, between Birdie Putt, Ryan Brill. He trades Keenan Allen, Aaron Jones, and N'Keal Harry to Rob XNXX, Alexis, Texas, who trades Mike Evans, David Johnson, and Travis Fulgham. I know this one's the highlight for you. You wanna start?
Oh Christ! Oh Jesus! So I think this is definitely the punt of the year. I think it's gonna be the most impacting trade of the whole season. I don't see anything working out in a more dramatic fashion than this one. And specifically, that's probably There's just, I think Brill definitely gave up to, all right, Keenan Allen, top 5 guy. He's going to be a top 5 guy the rest of the season. Definitely has top 3 upside. Aaron Jones, top 7. You can't, no matter how you slice it up, he's a top 7 running back right now. And who's shown that he can put up 40 in a week. So these two dudes, Aaron Jones might not make the team, but if I was making an all-time, like a team that I could have guys right now, Keenan Allen definitely makes the list, and Aaron Jones is right there with him. Probably doesn't make the starting running backs because Kamara and McCaffrey, but he's right there behind them. And so giving that up for a guy that Rob picked up off the waiver for $3 in Travis Fulgham, plus, I mean, Mike Evans, this was right as soon as we got the AB news. So, I mean, Brill said he needed to do it to, like, win right then and there. But as I discussed, or as we mentioned when we did the standings, even if you had 2 wins right now, I wouldn't call you out of it because there's still 5 weeks left. So I don't think there was the pressure or the need to hurry like Brill might have thought. And so it was Mike Evans, Travis Fulgham, and who?
David Johnson.
And David Johnson, yeah. I mean, you're trading for 3 guys who, if they score 12 to like 16 or 18 points that week, you'd be like, oh, okay. Well, that's points that Aaron Jones and Keenan Allen can do in 1 week. And so getting rid of 2 of those guys, it's essentially 2 for 3. N'Keal Harry, throw them out. I just think Brill punted. I think Rob was able to trade his way back into it. Rob made this trade when he was the last place team in the league. He has since won 2 straight and now holds our last playoff spot. I think it has the most implication, and I think Brill definitely lost that one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's easy to see that Keenan Allen and Aaron Jones are the 2 best fantasy players in the trade. If I'm Brill, I feel like I wouldn't have sold those 2 players. I mean, I know he has Derrick Henry as well, but I wouldn't have sold those 2 players for what he did. I know that Mike Evans and Travis Fulgham both have a lot of touchdown upside, and David Johnson, is a startable player, so he got startable pieces, but he traded away pretty much the core of his team to get it. And
the 2 best players on his team. Pull up his team.
He's got Derrick Henry still.
All right. Whatever.
We'll get into the teams in a bit here.
For 2 wide receiver 3s, and was there a running back in it?
Yeah, it was Aaron Jones was the running back. Or no,
Rob, it was Fulgham, Evans.
Rob sent David Johnson.
So it was the lowest end RB2 and 2 wide receiver 3s for the wide receiver 5 and probably, let's say, running back 6 or something. I don't know. Wide receiver 1, RB1. Just,
all right. Last trade. Last trade, November 5th.
Richie James. You think that there's going to be no opportunities, and all you have to do is wait for him to pop up, and you galaxy brain the whole fucking league. 5 players were picked up that week. Let's go through them. There was Ross Dwelly. There was Jordan Reed. You could have played, double condom. What's his name? What's his name? It's not Trent, is it? I don't know.
Trent Taylor?
Trent Taylor, yeah. Trent Taylor double condom play, like the slot guy. Like, what made you think that the slot guy was, like, going to be it that week? Like, I don't remember who else were the options, but the only other possible choice you could have picked was Jordan Reed, who was my first option, and you got him. It didn't work. But
you're welcome then.
Yeah, so
I didn't start him either. I was like, I can't do it.
I know, I'm surprised. But you had another really good tight end going, right?
Hunter Henry. It's good enough.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, last trade. November 5th between Trevor, Rusty Cunt, he trades Calvin Ridley and Le'Veon Bell to the Golden Taint, Ricky. He trades Rob Gronkowski and Robbie Anderson. Obviously, Calvin Ridley is hurt now. He's dealing with an injury. He missed the last week and will miss this upcoming week as well, it looks like. Le'Veon Bell really hasn't had too much volume in that Chiefs offense. So Trevor's not really missing anything at the moment, and he gains Gronkowski and Robbie Anderson. In the short term, this trade I think is going to pay off for Trevor because he needs to stack up some more wins to get a playoff spot. But in the long term, when Calvin Ridley comes back, that's going to be a huge asset for Ricky's team. So that's the way I see it. I think it makes sense for both sides. Obviously, I don't think Ricky expected that Calvin Ridley's injury would be the way that it is, but it's still something that his team's going to be able to cope with.
Yeah, this is a trade where we don't know who wins it until the fat lady sinks, right? I mean, like, what if Le'Veon even ends up going ham? Who knows? As of right now, he's not. But this is, one, I agree. In the short term, Trevor did his thing and has a fair chance to even end up winning the trade in the end. So who knows? I don't hate it. I think that's one of those bang trades where it's like, okay, let's see what happens. We both got kind of what we wanted, and we'll see if it pays off for either team.
Yes, sir. All right, so we'll just briefly go into the games from last week, and then we'll go over next week.
Wait. Top five.
All right, top 5.
We got top five. Now that all these players fall where they may have, me and Wiseman each have compiled a top 5 for y'all. Wiseman, lead us off.
Do you want me to go first? Do you want me to read my whole list off? Or you want me to read my 5 first, and then you read your 5?
Cool. Back and forth.
All right. I put my team at 5.
Okay, explain.
I think I have solid running backs. I would say that maybe my running back situation is probably top 4 or 5 in the league. I would say my wide receivers are top 3. I would say the number 1 quarterback. I've been streaming defenses pretty decently all year. I've had a decent amount of bad luck so far this year. Obviously, last week I won by the 1 point, so that kind of evens it out. But I think I have the squad to stack up a couple more wins and make the playoffs. Obviously, I have a really tough matchup this week, but I put my squad at 5. Third high scoring team.
For me, it was between your team and Brill's team for my 5th spot. And the reason I ended up falling where I did on putting this team in the 5th spot is because, you know what, they just have a little bit of fire. They have firepower. That firepower, of course, is Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. I have you at 5 as well. You and Brill have like similar teams where you each have like some guys who are pretty heavy hitters. But I think you having Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill is a big deal because it really solidifies like the core of your team. Where Brill's team could have everybody score 14 to like 17 points in a week, and then you wouldn't be surprised, but it probably wouldn't be enough to compete with the best of them. Whereas you, I think, have that core that can compete with the best of them, where you're going to get those 25s, those 30s. You have guys that are going to score 30 plus, and I think Brill just doesn't right now. I mean, I know he's got Derrick Henry, but what else?
All right, so we concur on that one.
Yeah, I think Brill got rid of those 2 guys that would have made him.
I think before that trade, Brill's top 5 for me too.
Yep. Yeah, I was staring at Brill's and I was like, wow, this is a really good team. And then literally 2 days later, he traded. I was like, whoa. What happened? He thought Justin Herbert was getting lucky or something?
I don't know. All right, you got to start with 4 now.
Number 4, falling in line is Team Miller time. Andy Miller, also 5 and 4. I give it to Andy at the 4 spot because I put Josh Allen with the best of the fantasy quarterbacks with that rushing upside. He's got 3 receivers really holding on the 4 that I could pick on any given week over any other receivers. In NFL, and these guys are like low-end wide receiver 1-ish areas. He's got 3 of them. Allen Robinson, Will Fuller, Terry McLaurin. Any week you can see 27 points in their column. T.J. Hawkinson is playing like we always hoped he would. Brandon Ayuk, I think, has gotten he looks really fucking good. And I think Nick Mullins is going to move the ball better downfield. That's why I picked Richie James that week is because I had Kendrick Bourne the week before against Seattle, and you could see When he came in, he was immediately getting the. I mean, yeah, it was garbage time, so there was more room, but you could just see that he was passing the ball at a better velocity, more accurately than fucking whatever his name was, Garoppolo was. So I was like, yeah, I think this guy's got a chance. But Brandon Ayuk is obviously the premier guy in that offense. He looks good. So when that's your last flex play, I mean, his true last flex play is Mecole Hardman, but who also has 20 point upside. Chase Edmonds rounding out has 2 to 3 touchdown upside in that Arizona offense. His only true weak spot is Melvin Gordon, but running backs don't matter. So I got Andy Miller at 4.
Yeah, I also have Andy at 4. I think that's a pretty fair analysis of his team. Obviously, he's got the really, really quality wide receivers. And he's done a really good job of coping, losing Saquon Barkley earlier in the season, being that he had the number 2 pick. So if he had a top guy instead of Saquon Barkley, his team could be really scary. But he's made do without it. He is 5-4, and he has a really good chance to get a victory this week and make himself 6-4 and really solidify his chance to make the playoffs. So yep, I have Andy at 4 as well.
Yes, sir. How about 3?
All right, for 3. So when I was picking my top 3, I noticed that all the teams. What?
I have no idea where I'm at in your top. Keep going.
When I was picking my top 3, I was looking at mainly 3 teams, and I noticed that all 3 of these teams had hitters at wide receiver. So I noticed all of these teams had solid wide receivers. Some a little deeper than others, but. And then I noticed that one team didn't necessarily have the guys at running back who are going to put up a ton of points. And I know you say that running backs don't matter.
This is bullshit.
But you can't discount having a top 2 running back on your team that has a chance to put up 30, 40 points every week and do it consistently. So yeah, it seems like you've already figured it out. I have your team at 3. You obviously have quality wide receivers. It's just you're all three of the teams I have in my top 3 are going to get a ton of points from their receivers, no question in my mind. But these other teams have the edge in running back, and if you have consistent points and a consistent high amount of points there, it gives you a significant edge, and you can't deny it. You know it. So yeah, I have you at 3 because your running backs just aren't as good as the teams I have in my top 2. Not even close.
Jesus Christ. I'll talk about my team when it's time to talk about them. All right, coming in at number 3, 3-time league champ, XNXX / Alexis Texas. Rob is my number 3. We've only got to see one game out of Christian McCaffrey. We'll see what happens. Maybe he will score that many points every game. We'll see what happens. Rob's obviously got a really good team. I would do anything for CMC, Aaron Jones, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen. Where I think Rob's lacking is going to be his last wide receiver spot and another flex spot. He's got any given week, Marvin Jones can do great. Yeah, he's truly missing. He could have 20 points by one of those guys. I think they're okay plays, but
he's got Darren Waller too, who's like a top 5 tight end.
He's got Darren Waller. I got Rob at 3. We'll see if James Robinson is still a top 5 running back. We'll have to see. I got Rob at my 3 spot. I think he's lacking at quarterback. Derek Carr's going to have a lot of 17-point games. Where if you think about that polarity between Derek Carr and the other top quarterbacks, there's going to be plenty of times where Derek Carr gets outscored by 15 plus. I think that could hurt him. And I think if he gets single digits from Darnell Mooney and Darrell Henderson, he needs 30 plus from those other guys. And I think you can expect that from CMC, but I don't give it the same lock that I would give my receiving core, for example. I got Rob at 3. That's what I got for you. So coming in at number 2. This team has the best quarterback receiver stack, in my opinion. This team has a team that has got great game flow theory that's going to work in their favor for the rest of the season. And they're all reliable guys. And he even has more power coming. This team could be the one. This could be the one team, but I think a lot of these guys could get outscored heavily. Like I said, polarity between where he might have some people is not going to be as good against the top guys. And I got Ricky at number 2. Those players I'm talking about that might not be able to keep up. Although I do like them because, for things I've already said, Randall Cobb I don't think can necessarily hold it down. Leonard Fournette, although Calvin Ridley's coming. So we'll see if he gets rid of Dallas Goedert or Leonard Fournette. I think this could be the one team. This could be the number 1. But I'm not going to give it to him. You love Dalvin Cook. He's top 3 running back right now. James Conner is always going to be in perfect game flow. So are Russ and DK. So is Randall Cobb. And so is Dallas Goedert. I got Ricky at number 2.
Unbelievable. I have Rob at number 2.
Whoa! I forgot about Rob.
You forgot about Rob. You just talked about his team. No, I have Rob at number 2. Obviously, having Christian McCaffrey and Aaron Jones, your 2 starting running backs, doesn't really get much better than that. And yeah, I mean, Derek Carr is not the best fantasy quarterback, but I'm sure Rob's not done trading. I'm sure he'll end up with something better before the end of the year. I mean, obviously, we're talking about his team right now. But at this point, I'm not concerned about him starting Derek Carr when he's got those 2 running backs, on top of having Keenan Allen and Steph Diggs, as you mentioned. Darren Waller's putting up consistent points. And yeah, his second flex is weaker, but his first flex is James Robinson, who has consistently put up over 20 points, and that's something great to have at your flex. So Rob's team is consistently putting up a lot of points, and his team put up 160 last week, and
wasn't enough to beat mine.
No, but he did beat you the week before that.
I scored the most this week again.
And you lost the week before to Rob, who I have at number 2.
To Rob. Yeah, but I didn't have Kyler, did I? Kyler or DeAndre?
All right, so obviously number 1, I have Ricky. I have Ricky at number 1. He has Dalvin Cook. Obviously, he's been the best running back this season other than Alvin Kamara. He's got the best wide receiver quarterback stack, as you mentioned, Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. He's made a lot of really good moves to make his team better. Once Calvin Ridley comes back, it's going to be insane to have Ridley and DK Metcalf and Dalvin Cook. His team's just going to put up a ton of points. Ricky's team is the best team in my mind. And yeah, I think that if he's been a bit unlucky, obviously, with a lot of points scored against him, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in first place at the end of the season, to be honest. We'll see.
Well, considering I'm going to win this week, we'll see. Okay, obviously I got my team at number 1 because they're the best. That's what happens when you try me with sorry-ass teams.
I can't believe you wanted to do a top 5 just so you could talk about your team at number 1. You're such a worm.
That's not true. Dude, I got the best team, and here's why. Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins are both top 5 wide receivers. A.J. Brown is a low-end wide receiver 1. So for my wide receivers 1, 2, and 3, I have 3 wide receiver 1s. Wide receiver is definitely the most important position. It has the most variance in it. So if you can secure guys who can consistently lock down high points in those spots, in the long run, you're going to be defeating your opponents over time. Oh, I also have the quarterback 1.
False.
To my stack.
It's false.
Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback 1 right now, but he's on bye, so after this week he will be the quarterback 2. Anyways, DJ Moore, he's a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 at worst. I have him as my first flex. And then Mark Andrews, on any given week, he grabs me 2 touchdowns and it's chops. I think having somebody like Mark Andrews, who, although right now seems to be struggling, I think somebody with his upside and what we're used to seeing consistency out of him, we're not seeing it right now. If he can return to that, I think it almost can't get better. at your second flex spot than somebody like him. So obviously and I got Jimmy Graham, who's a week-to-week starter. Tight ends don't matter. All you need is 10 out of them, and you're having a pretty good week, as long as you're not facing Travis Kelce that week. So coming in at running backs, I have guys that, depending on the matchup, you can predict for sure one of them to get a touchdown. And I'm most of the time not losing a ton of points to the field at my running back spot, although obviously against somebody like Ricky, it could be a problem. However, the biggest, most crucial potential leverage spot on either top two teams between me and Ricky is when James Conner inevitably goes down like he does every year. And Benny Snell comes in to resurrect me right before the championship. And I will take it. Exactly mine.
Can't believe you'd wish an injury on a player.
Best team here. I've successfully streamed extremely good defenses every single week. And I have the number one spot for a reason, and I've scored the most points in the league for a reason. Oh, and then when Sammy Watkins comes back and has eight catches for 120 yards in a game and a touchdown, everybody's going to forget that they could have had him. He'll be on my team scoring points when that happens. Okay.
Everyone's going to hate that you talked about your team for that long and did the top 5 just so you could name your team number 1.
No, that's not what happened.
Okay.
I looked it all over and I remembered that I do have the best team. All right, what's next on the docket for us, Wiseman?
We're going to look at last week's scores.
Please send me through. I can't even talk anymore.
All right, last week we saw a number of close matchups and a number of blowouts. So just to cap the Survivor Challenge, we got 3 teams left. Delaney Saggy Tits, Golden Taint, Miller Time. Exiting the Survivor Challenge is Rusty Kuntz this week with 78 points. And yeah, he lost his matchup to Brill by a score 101-78. Pretty low scoring game between the two teams, but Brill walks away with the win to bring himself to 4-5, to drop Trevor down to 4-5. The 2 top scoring teams this week were separated by 1 point. Jed, you put up 161. Rob put up 160. You defeated Mikey, who put up 101, and Rob defeated Billy, who put up 95. So pretty low scores against you guys. Wasn't even close. Ricky was able to bring himself to second place at 6-3 with his win over Devin by week by a score 118-100. Then you have the next closest matchup, which is between the Evansdale Carpet Munchers and Miller Time. Miller Time was able to win it by a 4-point margin of 145-141 to send Miller Time to 5-4 and Evansdale Carpet Munchers to 3-6. And finally, the closest match of the year, or closest match of this week anyway, that was decided in one of the final drives of the game. My team came out victorious over Team Butts, 123-122, to make me 5-3 and Butts 4-5. Any key matchups or notes to add from Week 9?
Yeah, I was right against Rob, like always, when he said that the Saints would score enough points for the Evansdale Carpet Munchers to come out victorious, but unfortunately the Saints did too well and prevented Nick's Drew Brees, Michael Thomas stack from going nuclear. So Andy pulled out that one. And then, yeah, obviously you run like a fucking god in the weirdest way. When the running back gets the point and that he needs to go ahead and then gets injured, just to solidify it, that way he couldn't lose you a point.
He couldn't fumble.
Or he could have lost 2 yards. You guys would have tied. So we got hurt the next play, so that's just amazing. And you went, stop the count!
Yeah, I knew you'd like that.
Stop the count, please!
If you count all the legal points that were scored, I win easily.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, on to the next week.
Yeah, Week 10. A lot of teams are hurting from buys and from injuries this week.
Oof. Big oof.
Teams with no depth are going to get exposed.
Like all those teams with running backs.
Who said that?
Like Ricky's team.
All right. What matchup do you got first on yours? Is it yours?
Yeah. Want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Leading off, we got an advertisement. Team Delaney Saggy Tits owner Floyd the Boy, aka Kamish, versus Team Rusty Cunt's owner of last year's defending champ Trevor Wisconsin. Hold on, I got this advertisement. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to win this one pretty easy. Okay, projection has me winning by 8 as of right now. Yeah, I think if you peep at it, he's got a win in his range somewhere, but I don't think I got pretty good matchups this week. I like Arizona, Buffalo to score some points. I like Devontae Adams against Jacksonville. I think my guys are just in pretty okay spots, and he's going to need his guys to go nuclear, which having Lamar and Alvin Kamara certainly puts that in play. I think he could get some good play out of Robbie Anderson, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson. If those guys hit the top of their range, we got a ball game. I think I should win it, but this one could be a ball game. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that the projections have this close, and rightfully so. Obviously, Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins, I think they should do very well against New England. I didn't think they looked very good when they played the Jets. They still pulled out the win, but if you make it look hard against the Jets, a good team like Baltimore is going to punish you. So I think Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins are in a good spot this week. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is capable of a huge game any given week. One of the pivotal points in this matchup is going to be Robbie Anderson versus DJ Moore, who's going to thrive the most in that game against Tampa Bay.
As of late, it's been Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, and I think obviously it depends on how the game goes between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, how T. Higgins and Deontay Johnson are going to do. Antonio Brown's in a tough spot this week. Indianapolis' defense has been pretty good this season, so we'll see how he does. Trevor not electing to start Corey Davis. I guess he doesn't want that head-to-head matchup, Corey Davis and A.J. Brown, because that could be another turning point in this matchup, but left him on the bench. Obviously, your flexes are a little bit more solid. We'll see if Sterling Shepard can do anything. Jacoby Myers came off a big game, but I don't see him repeating against Baltimore. So I would say your team's got a slight edge just because, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, and Kyler Murray can get you a lot of points. I think Alvin Kamara has the potential to outscore both of your running backs, but if you predict that they can get a touchdown, at least one of them, then it's going to give you it's going to increase your odds to win, obviously. So I would say the line that they have of you as an 8-point favorite is fair. I would say that you are the favorite to win this week, but I could see it being close because I think Trevor's got some decent plays.
Is Corey Davis over Jacoby Myers the right play?
I mean, Jacoby Myers just came off a big game. Corey Davis just came off a 0. I don't foresee Corey Davis repeating a 0, but it is concerning, so I could see why he would start Jacoby Myers. But Baltimore is it's high risk, high reward. I think he could repeat with a decent game, but it's going to be tough against Baltimore.
Give me Corey Davis over Jacoby Myers this week.
Would you play that specifically because you have A.J. Brown, hope to create a larger separation?
No. If I was in Trevor's spot, I would pick Corey Davis over Jacoby Myers. I mean, leverage spot, that totally makes sense, but I just bet that Corey Davis will. So, and even then, so from a theory standpoint, yes, potentially. But I think Corey Davis will outscore Jacoby Myers this week. Want to bet on it?
No, I'm not confident in either of them.
Or Trevor, if you see this and you think that Jacoby Myers is the right play, we can throw a little gamble on it if you want. Give me Corey Davis. Okay, next one.
All right, the one I have on top obviously is my matchup. It's
Thousand Oaks Gang.
Yep, me versus Miller. Thousand Oaks Gang versus Miller Time. Both 5-4 teams squaring off.
Premier matchup of the week.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I'm missing obviously the core of my team with Mahomes and Hill on bye, so it's rough. But I've got Herbert filling in. I'm starting him with full confidence. My running backs are looking solid for this week if Joe Mixon plays. If not, I'll just plug in Bernard. No Hill makes my wide receivers look a little weak, but I might get Galladay for the first time this week. I've got Lockett, obviously, who could go off for a huge game. I think he can do it against the Rams. We'll see if the Seahawks show up, and obviously who's going to have the big day is going to be Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. They both haven't done it at the same time, I don't think, yet this year. So hoping it's a Lockett week next week. I think Marquise Brown is in a good spot against New England. And then Anthony Miller, it's a little bit of a reach for a flex. I mean, he's had a couple good weeks. I'm not too excited about starting him, but the Giants have looked bad, so I don't feel confident starting Slayton. And then my last flex, I've got Chase Claypool. I think he had something like 14 targets in the last game from Roethlisberger, so he's getting a lot of volume. I'm looking forward to having him as my flex option, obviously, when my team's at full strength. So all that being said, I think that Andy has better spots for his best players this week, and I think that the projections barely have me as a favorite, but I think that Andy overall has a better team and has better matchups than me this week. So I would say he's the favorite to win, just based off of what I foresee his team scoring this week and the spots his players are in.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head. Without Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, this has the looks of the slug out of the week. Like, it has the potential to be the slugfest of the week. But like you said, I think Andy's just got a little bit more. If you had your two guys, it would be a closer story. Could be really close. Could be high scoring. Give me Andy.
Andy's looking to go 6-4, which would make me 5-5. Still in the playoff hunt, but obviously that 6 win is crucial.
Yes, indeed.
All right, next one. Evansdale Carpet Munchers against Team Butts. 3-6 versus 4-5. What do you think?
Projections got Butts all up in Nick's ass cheeks. Nick needs to pull Michael Gallup and put someone else in. I think even doing that aside, yeah, he should probably lose the match, but this is another one of those matchups where it could go either way. Each of these teams is middle of the road at very best. Neither of these teams I foresee to be playoff teams. So it could go either way. I don't got much to say about it, but I definitely have Butts winning this one probably handily, but it could go either way.
Yeah, I'm going to say that both of these teams are incredibly touchdown dependent. If their guys are not scoring touchdowns, they are not putting up over 100 points. Right. So really this game's going to come down to who gets the touchdowns. I think that just the safer volume that Butts has with Josh Jacobs and Robert Woods might end up being the difference here. Obviously Michael Thomas is a great wide receiver, but he's just had an awful year, really. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's not looking very good for Nick. He's hoping that a lot of his guys will get touchdowns, but it looks like the projections are correct that Butts should win this one. But both these teams, it's going to depend on who gets the touchdowns.
Yes, sir. Next one, I almost don't even want to talk about. Ryan Brill, Team Birdie Putt versus Mikey Juices Loose. I got Brill as the sixth best team at best in the league. But this is one he's supposed to just punish Mikey and put him away. Mikey's missing a couple guys, hardly matters. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, Brill should get a free win essentially this week.
Yeah,
because Mikey's missing so many players. He's missing Gurley, missing Zeke, missing his tight end. So yeah, it's going to be a rough week for Mikey.
He makes a lot of moves. So.
All right, next one. Bye week versus Toledo Cheat Clappers. We got the 6-3 Toledo Cheat Clappers playing the 4-5 bye week. Terrible week for Devin to be missing his two best players in Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Julio Jones. That obviously takes a huge amount of his points out of his team. He's hoping that Juju can continue his good performance from last week. He's also hoping that Christian McCaffrey is injured so that Mike Davis gets more volume. But it's hard to see Devin being able to beat Billy's team since he's getting Chubb and Carson back, and Kupp is coming off of the bye. He's obviously not starting a tight end right now, but still projected to win by quite a bit. So Billy's looking like the favorite here just because it's going to be hard to see where the points are going to come from for Devin this week. A lot of the players that were performing for him earlier in the season aren't maintaining that consistency later on into the year.
Yeah, missing Julio Jones hurts, and David Montgomery and Clyde Edwards-Helaire absolutely underperforming. Definitely hurts Devin big time in this one. Billy has this team where me and Mike Wiseman compared it to Damien's team every year, where they just run pure. If they score low, listen, Billy's running pure. He has guys that are going to score a lot of touchdowns, but you're like wondering where the firepower is, but then you're going to lose to Cole Beasley. Is what happens when you face a team like Billy's. And at full strength, he's got two really good running backs, and he's got a bunch of receivers who can score a lot of touchdowns, and he's got Travis Kelce. So
getting the job done.
Billy could Cinderella, and they'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Billy is in a great position to make the playoffs at 6-3. It would be surprising if he didn't make it. After he wins this week at 7-3, he will make the playoffs.
Mikey won, where Mikey made like no changes to his team, just drafted a team. They scored touchdowns when they need to, and they just be like, "Oh, looks like Billy's the champion." We're like Hopkins, Devontae Adams. Billy's like Mike Williams.
All right, last matchup, which I would say is the marquee matchup because I have it between my top two teams. Golden Tate versus xnxx.com/Alexis Texas.
Second and third best team in the league.
Whatever. And it looks like neither of these teams are missing any key players. This is going to be two teams at full strength going at it. Obviously no Ridley. He's on bye, but he was injured anyway, it looked like. So you could say that Ricky's missing Ridley. But apart from that, both these teams are at full strength. It should be a very high-scoring game. Rob's projected 153. They've got Ricky on the lower side, but I definitely think this will be a game where you need 150 plus to win. I would say the team that has the edge. Give me Ricky.
Me too. And projections got Ricky losing by almost 20, which is actually really huge in these projections. Projections, when they have a team getting spanked, they usually are going to get spanked. Projections have Ricky losing by almost 20, but me and you both take Ricky in this one, and that is without Calvin Ridley, too. I think it hurts starting Henderson. Just like, where's your ceiling at on that play? It's non-existent. The fact that he's starting Henderson over Marvin Jones is actually terrible. It's going to be a pass-happy game script. There's going to be a lot of touchdowns. So maybe a chance. Is Henderson the goal line guy? Do you know?
I couldn't tell you who the goal line guy is for the Rams.
I don't know. It just seems like a terrible play in my opinion. When you have a free flex spot like that, because James Robinson's in this flex, so he's got essentially a free flex spot because his first one is so strong. You should just be seeking the highest upside, which is what, like, for example, makes Valdez-Scantling so dangerous for Ricky when he's at full strength, because he's going to have Calvin Ridley, so then you say, boom, Leonard Fournette's gone, in my opinion. And then you essentially have a free flex play, and then you're supposed to play Scantling over Goddard any day, assuming.
Or Randall Cobb. But yeah, I'm taking Ricky's team this week.
I like Randall Cobb because he's going to consistently be in that game script with terrible Houston defense. Means Houston's passing the ball, and Randall Cobb has been delivering in that where he needed to all season. Give me Ricky. As long as James Conner doesn't go down for Benny Snell, should be Ricky, no problem.
All right, that'll do it. Any closing remarks from you?
That does it?
That's everything.
That does it, huh? Well, boys, we're looking at Week 10 right now. I'm hoping to put that one in the books with solo first place. See what happens. Trade deadline's right around the corner. It always is around Thanksgiving time. Hopefully nobody gives Rob any more players. I've seen enough. I've had as many trades as I can handle for a season. Waivers not that popping this week. Last week that just passed, I felt like everything that we expected players and teams to do and how the games ended up turning out how they were supposed to. So we'll see if the games continue to be equally as predictable. I think the teams are getting to be very obvious to see where teams play, how they match up, who's good against who. So may the sharpest fantasy football player win from here on out, and may Mark Andrews score touchdowns in week 15 and 16. Got anything for us?
Yeah, it's been a up and down season so far. Obviously, a lot of teams have been dealing with issues with COVID, so that sucks, and we haven't been doing such a good job of keeping up on the videos. But Jad just wanted to come on the video today to talk about how he thinks his team is the best and better than everybody else.
No! My best team. What do you want from me? I don't know what to say. I really don't.
Jad, you heard it here first, lads. Jad does not know how to be humble.
What are you talking about? I have the best team. What am I supposed to do? Lie? I don't get it.
No, it's not the fact that you would lie. It's the fact that you wanted to do the top 10. You're like, oh, I'm gonna do the top 10 and put myself at number 1.
I didn't even think about that. I didn't. I just looked. You were here when I was looking over all the teams. I just now discovered who the best teams were. It was me all along. It turns out.
Whatever.
I'm the Alex Wagner of fantasy football.
You are Alex Wagner.
All right. You got anything else for me?
Nope, nothing else. Until next week, lads.
Playoffs are around the corner. Here comes week 10. Keep slinging them discs. Wait, that's Brady Smith.
All right.
Disc golf.